Hey everybody, and as we promised, we are back. Greg Harris, co-host, Al Laws, the Love Doctor, with Advice for Life, and we shared that we are getting on to the second half of the program, and so guess what? We're going to jump right into it. Hope that you are coming back on from part one, and we already got a couple of viewers on with us, and we're going to jump right into this. So again, put your questions and everything, shoot your text, and we're going to get right into it.
Yep. Love on us as we go to the second part.
And we are back, and we are having an awesome time dealing with the awareness wheel, but we're going specifically over the 7 rules of family strengthening. But first, as always, want to invite our listeners to call in and share your story. 410-578-8004. Leave your information and we will get back to you. Also log into our website at www.advice4life.us. Click on the podcast tab and check out our library of shows we've developed here on Advice for Life. And most of all, join us on our Facebook campaign.
Yes.
Log in to Advice for Life, like us, check us out. And on Tuesday evenings, you can join and be with us as we do our live recordings and share your questions. And we are going to get to you. Right, Al?
Absolutely.
Having fun.
Yeah, excited about the live recordings. So before the break, we were talking about the 7 rules of family strengthening, because I believe one of the foundational things that people have to get as they're talking about relationship is they have to really learn how to find the good.
Right.
And I think it's really rooted in kind of a basic thing that God has always tried to give us. Like God says he looks past our faults and he sees our need. Right? So God says that the shepherd, when he gave the parable of the shepherd, that he would leave the 99
and go seek the one.
Yes. So there's a principle that God is constantly trying to give us, that we have to go past the things that seem obvious, the difficulties. We have to kind of pierce through those things and then find the place that is good. Find the place that connects and has more of the image of God on it. So some of the, like I said, 90% of the stuff might not have his image, but find his image. Try your best.
I see God right there.
I see God.
Lord have mercy. It's underneath that fold right there. It's in between the crevices.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
You got to see him. You got to find him. And so we talked about those 7 rules as that kind of foundation. So now I want to really talk about, again, because we've been talking about the awareness wheel.
Right.
Okay, which is that we're talking about looking at intentions, looking at thoughts, looking at feelings, and behavior.
Right.
Now, up to now, I've always kind of started with intentions on purpose, because my goal was to get people to be disciplined about how they approach looking at process.
Okay.
I want you to always discipline yourself to say, what is the intention? Don't start with what happened or the behavior.
The behavior, right.
You start with the intention. Now, the tricky thing is that what always shows up in your face is the behavior.
Yeah. You can't deny it.
You can't deny it. It's right there. It's what's affecting you. So it's so difficult, but you have to learn, if you want to become expert at communicating, to not focus on the behavior.
Right.
You focus on the intention. Now, although I've been doing that up to now, telling you to focus on intention.
Right.
Now, for the scenarios, I'm going to start with the behavior, because that's where we find ourselves.
Okay.
Now, the critical thing about, as you're looking at behavior, you have to always remember the concept of process and content. What do I mean by that? Well, if you had listened to my previous show, no, I'm not. If you listen, you will understand that I've done it. I've put it in most of the series dealing with the awareness wheel. But the process and content concept is so important, because what happens is that we a lot of times look at the content, the thing that happened, the thing that was said, the thing that somebody did. That's the content of the situation.
Okay.
As opposed to being more aware of the process. And the process is really about that discipline I talked about. What was the person's intention?
Right.
Their intention is more important than what they did.
Right.
Their intention is more important than what they said. Their intention is more important than what you thought they were going to do. They did an action, and a lot of times we have this anticipation of what about the next thing the person is going to do or what they're going to say. Their intention is more important. Their thoughts about it are more important than what they have done.
What they've done.
Or what they've said. Their feelings, really, really important. More important than what they said or what they did. See, it's so important because as the scripture says, we kind of work in reverse order for some reason.
Okay.
The scripture says that we should be slow to speak, quick to hear, and slow to wrath. And what are we? Quick to speak, quick to wrath, and slow to hear. So we are just kind of programmed in our nature sometimes, unless we are moving and allowing the nature of Christ to consume us.
Discipline.
This discipline, we tend to always kind of revert back to that base nature.
Right.
So your discipline, what I'm saying, that example is that I don't want you to focus on the content. Don't revert to always look at the content. I want you to go and observe the process. So let's kind of look at this as a scenario so you can see it. So my scenario is, I guess I'm going to use the scenario of a parent being upset at their child.
Okay.
Right? And they say to the child, why are you always being disrespectful? Why aren't you listening to what I'm telling you? Right?
Okay, got it.
That's the example. So the parent is saying that, but there was a behavior that happened.
Okay.
Okay. The behavior was when the parent says something to the child kind of rolled their eyes, stomped their foot a little bit, and turned and walked away before the parent was finished speaking. Right?
That sends chills up my spine just thinking about it.
Those of you who have teenagers understand that scenario very well. Now, when the parent observed the child doing that, it is so easy for that parent to get caught into the content. The fact that they kind of suck their teeth a little bit,
rolled eyes,
kind of turn sharp and like kind of walking away while they're talking. It is so easy to get caught in that content. And I get it. So, and you may have to respond to content sometimes. Don't get me wrong. You have to respond to it, but you have to be very quick to think what the intention is. Because if you don't try to focus on the intention, your response to the content
will be off.
It's going to be so off.
Right.
You're going to be disappointed at yourself when that happens.
Afterwards.
Right. So, let's say the reason why, let's say the issue that came up was the parent said no to something that the young person wanted.
Okay.
So you can look back and you can think, okay, he responded that way, and he starts turning it around. Okay, I'm going back to his intention. What is really his intention? He sucked his teeth and he, kind of walked away. What would you say his intention is?
Well, his intention is he's disappointed.
Okay, well that's his feeling.
Okay.
that's his feeling.
Okay. He's not getting what he wants.
He's not getting what he wants. He wants to get something.
Right. He wants to get something.
He's trying to get something for himself, and he doesn't know how he can get what he wants.
Right. And so there's a flood of thoughts. I'm not going to have that jacket, and all the other dudes got the jacket. They have that thing. They have that game. Everybody else has that game. I don't have the game.
Right.
I'm going to look a fool to have the game. Matter of fact, they're going to be coming over here on Friday, and I'm not going to have the game.
Right. So exactly. So the focus on their intention, also that child at that time is really, if you look at their intention, if you focused on their action, although they kind of turned around and rolled their eyes and walked away, they're in a conflict about how to manage their feelings that they have about the situation and their respect for their parent.
Exactly. I was literally thinking the same thing, because though they're frustrated and this and that and the other, if you froze them in suspended animation and said, "Do you love your parent?" They'll look at you crazy. Yeah, I love my.
Yeah. So they love their parent.
Right.
So by focusing on understanding that, you will, first of all, I tell people, don't take it personal.
Right.
Their behavior, their action is not really personal. And so the natural tendency again is to focus on the content, the behavior. So you look at the tension. So then I look at their thoughts. What are they thinking? When you said it, your thoughts is what you just communicated with all the words you said. Right. I'm not going to get the jacket. I'm not going to the game when people come over. Right. And then the next important thing is very important for you to focus on is what are they feeling?
Unaccepted.
Okay.
Status. Cool.
Okay, they feel it.
Disappointed.
Okay, so they're feeling disappointed because it's hard to. I guess you can feel cool. I feel cool a lot of times. I guess you can feel cool.
Pretty ricky with the call.
But it's not truly a feeling. So what I'm saying is that you're right. They feel frustrated.
Accepted.
Unaccepted. Right.
Unheard.
Unheard.
Right. Unheard.
So all those feelings are going on with that person, and then if you route all that back to the scenario, now when you look at their content, it looks a little different. Right. So instead of saying in that moment, "Don't you turn your back on me when I'm talking to you,"
right?
Now that's a natural response.
It is.
To the content that's coming to you. Don't you turn your back when I'm talking to you,
boy.
Right. The response taken out of the intent is, I see that you're really disappointed, and I'm not quite finished talking to you about it, and I want to let you know that I hear you.
Right.
And I want you to hear me. So now I'm connecting to what I think they felt unheard. They felt frustrated.
Right.
They felt disappointed. Now connecting to their feeling. And that's why feelings are so important, because they're so easy for you to connect with, and people relate to you when you are able to connect to them on that feeling level. So feelings are so important to connect to. So I could go through that. I'm not going to stay on that scenario. I'm going to go back to the one we had last week because she brought it up.
Right,
Two people who are locked in a argument about something. They both, the scenario was they're both strong-willed. They both don't know how to give in a situation.
Right.
So of course, I think of scripture right away, because I believe if you read the scripture, it helps you kind of manage your emotions and your will, right? So the scriptures come to me as how can two walk together lest they agree? The other one that comes to me is that as much as it depends on you, be at peace with all men.
I like that.
Right.
I like that.
So me and my wife, our focus is always that scripture, to be at peace with all men, as much as it depends on me. So now something depends on me. And that means that now I have to look at my process that's in here. So before we were looking at the kid's process and what he was going through, let's look at the person who is, making the question saying, I keep getting stuck. Well, you keep getting stuck because you're stuck.
Right.
You're stuck because you don't see your process. So you have to first look at your process, which is looking at your intentions, looking at your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. Right? Same principle. Even with your own behaviors, don't get caught in the content. Don't get caught in what you said and what you did. Understand what your intention was. Understand the thoughts you had behind that. Understand the feelings that you have behind that. And you will have a better grasp of how to really understand your process, right? So two people are locked and two people are stuck together. They have to begin to start as an individual to see their process and say, you know what? I have this intention about what's going on. I want to communicate. I love this person. My intention is for us to be at peace. And then they have to look at their thoughts and say, my thoughts are, although I don't agree with everything, there are some things that I can agree with. So I'm going to find the good. I'm going to think something good. I'm going to say something good. I'm going to do something good. And then they're going to go to their feelings and own their feelings and be willing to look at the other person's feelings. And finally, as they look at their behavior and not get caught into the content and the process, they will be able to be aware of their process and have the strength within themselves to see the other person's process and get out of that locked position and do what the scriptures say, which is that you should hold your brother above yourself, and as much as it depends on you, be at peace with all men.
That's a wrap.
So we only have so much time on the program, so I will continue this process with some more scenarios Me and Greg will talk some more about the kind of scenarios we're going to bring, and I'm going to be very concrete. And then what I'll do is, as we're going through the process, what you'll see is I'll talk about what skill sets you can use as you're in that process. I did a little bit of that here, but I'm going to do more of that as we go through, because I really want you to see it. I want it to be a picture. I want it to be vibrant, that you see what it is. So we're going to try to take a couple questions that we have, Greg. Thank you, everyone who's kind of joined in with us. It's been so many people that have joined in.
No, not recording, but the
questions. I do want them to do that.
The questions.
No, I want them to record it too.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to keep it locked on Al here while I check out any questions.
So what I want to do, the format that I have is I want to begin to take questions from people and either talk about those questions after the show, or sometimes what I'll do is I'll bring those on and I'll bring those questions up at a next show. And then some of that material will actually be subject matters that I will discuss and talk about, because you'll be giving me ideas and feedback about what you want to hear about and what kind of things you want me to address. So there is, is that, who's that there? Is that a question, Greg? Can you see that question?
Okay, it says, as I try to use situations as learning lessons for me as a parent, and my daughter, I'm sorry, I don't have no glasses on, minus the raised voice and unnecessary actions.
So that's connected to the scenario we were talking about. It's very difficult when you're in the moment. And so as you're learning how to look for intention, I'm always going to do this. This is always my go-to move. I'm going to think that their intention is not against me, that they're not against me, and that they have love. So I'm always going to connect to love with them. Because if I connect to the love, it doesn't put me in a place where I feel like I have to defend or, come after them. And so in the moment, in the emergency moment, if I don't have the discipline to really go to my intention, the intention that I always go with is love. I see the love, I acknowledge the love, and I don't take what they're doing personal. Like, it's not really them trying to do something to me. So if your daughter raises her voice, you have to have that mindset. And what I say, like if they raise their voice, it says, okay, sweetie, so you really want to communicate something to me, and the way you said it was hard for me to hear. So I really want to hear what you're saying, because what you're saying is really important. So let's discuss this. Let's have a real discussion about it, because us just raising our voices is not going to get each other to hear one another. So you can just, in that way, what I'm doing is that I'm speaking first from that place of love, and then I'm able to speak to that content for that moment. But again, I'm always looking back after I've gone through that scenario. I'm going back to look at what her intentions are, what her thoughts and feelings are, so I can better understand her behavior. We had a couple more questions, Greg.
Yep. Let's see. It says, position of freedom is a skill that generally works along with being open-minded. I guess maybe we're saying someone being open-minded.
Who was that?
Bernadette Johnson.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Position of freedom, which we'll do a show with that. But that's really a lot of times what that is that you have to be willing to allow people to move in their process the way they're moving. You can support them in it, and the best way that you can support them is to make sure you're disciplined in what you do. And ultimately, what I say is that I'm always going to help people and help reflect to people their thoughts and their feelings. And that gives me a position of freedom. I don't have to try to fix it for them. I don't have to make them think a certain way or feel a certain way. I'm just reflecting what they give me and presenting to me.
Okay. There's a question here. Are all intentions good?
Oh, so that has come up in our training and different things we have said. Who asked that question again?
Let's see. Jamal Barnes.
Okay, good.
What's up,
good,
brother?
Jamal? I love Jamal. That's my brother. He one of our sons that went through our program is growing. So a lot of people have have said all intentions are good, but that really is not a correct statement.
Not accurate.
Because it's not accurate. What we're really saying is that behind every intention, you can find a good intention to it. Meaning that people, even when they're trying to do something for themselves, no matter what. So even when somebody does something and their intention is really, maybe bad, meaning a person, let's say a person, their intention is to take your car from you, right? Or take your groceries from you. You went to the grocery store and they taken your groceries. Well, there might be a lot of reasons behind it. There might be a lot of mal-intentions behind it. But in some way, that person is trying to take care of themselves. Maybe they're going to go back and take it to their family. It doesn't make it it doesn't make the action right. So don't get confused the fact by looking for good in intentions that it justifies the action. It doesn't justify the action. All it does, it gives you and puts you in a position so that you can better understand that action in a proper context.
Okay, so as we're learning this, so what I'm going to do is I got to close that. I can flip it like this way. It's directly on you.
Okay.
And I can read the question.
Yeah, okay, great.
Wow, awesome thing. Okay, so again from Jamar, it says, oh man, glasses. How do you incorporate the thinking something good, saying something good, do something good, if someone is self-hating?
Right. Okay. So again, I'm going to say something good to somebody who is either hating themselves, or if they're a hater to you, I'm going to think something good. So if I believe somebody's hating on me, instead of me retaliating in my own thoughts, my own mind, I'm going to think about blessing to them. I'm going to think about the good in them, because it gives me a position, a power that I don't feed into what they're giving me. That I've learned that secret of recognizing that you don't repay evil for evil. You repay evil with good. And so that good is that I'm going to think good of you. I'm going to see good in you. And so that's what I would do if it's hating towards me. And then if you're really good, when you see the person, you can say something good to them. That's when, if you're really skilled, you can do that. And then eventually you can do something good. Now you've gone to a whole nother level and you've done what Jesus says, which is, he says, love your enemies. Yes. He says, do good to those who spitefully use you and persecute you. So when you can do good to somebody who hates on you, and they spitefully persecute you, you've gone to the highest level of ascension, and what God is really trying to take us to, that you really have mastered process and mastered interacting with people when you can do that.
Someone shared and said, thoughts create action.
Absolutely. Well, if you learn in the awareness wheel, there's a couple of other pieces in there. We have intentions, and from your intentions you get thoughts. And from those thoughts, you get feelings. And from those feelings, you get behaviors. So yes, there is a direct correlation between your thoughts and your behavior. But what people miss in between is the feeling level. And actually, people skip over the feeling level because it touches us in the most deepest place. And so we have to learn and understand the value and the importance of not bypassing the feeling level so that we can better understand behavior.
Awesome. Somebody says, hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that.
Nice. Yep. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. I know we only have a certain amount of time on this this broadcast. Hopefully you got something from it. I'm telling you, if you continue to listen to these programs, go back to the podcast in the morning. Pull up the podcast. It'll signal you. You can get in the morning, and when you're working out or when you're getting dressed or you're driving on your way to work, you can begin to digest these things that we've laid out. And we've gone into detail for a lot of these things. So if you really want to improve and understand this whole family strengthening and the things that we're giving you from Advice for Life, I encourage you and challenge you to go to the podcast and keep listening to us. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, between 8:15 and 9:15. Love you. God bless.